Now, you would expect laws on antisocial behaviour to maybe control troublesome teenagers or rowdy families, but one man from Cambridgeshire has used it to get rid of a rather different menace.
It was 50 foot tall and left Norman Lewin's garden in Willingham in the dark. But now it's on the way out. Rhianna Mills has been to see him.
Life has been a little gloomy for Norman Lewin. He's not exactly Willingham's answer to Victor Meldrew, but he has had enough of the monsters living at the end of his garden.
Well, it's kept us in the shade most in the mornings, and we don't get the best of the garden. And they're such a size that they take most of the moisture out of the garden, which is frustrating for Jen because she's quite a keen gardener, and there's not much will grow down there. So it's just a case of getting the sunlight back and getting proper use of the garden, really.
And this is what we're talking about, these hedges. Now, I'm about 5'7", but these are a lot taller than that. In fact, they're around 50 feet tall, and while they may not shout at you or mug you in the street, they have been dubbed as antisocial after robbing Norman of his daylight. You see, Norman found out that the Antisocial Behaviour Act can be used in cases where people's hedges are affecting their neighbours. After 4 years, South Cambridgeshire District Council have now ordered that the Lawson cypress hedges must be cut to 5 metres. Ray and Beryl Fruin, who own them, didn't want to appear on camera today, but said that they would have come down ages ago if Ray hadn't been unwell, and they feel hassled by the whole thing. Norman is just happy that someone else has finally seen the light.
Well, hopefully the wife and son-in-law and daughters will be able to have more barbecues out there in the sunshine, more breakfast barbecues. That would be much better. We'll enjoy a lot more sunshine. Yeah. No, I'm not in Victor now.
The hedges will be cut back in February before the bird nesting season, and just early enough for the Lewins to plan what they'll be planting this spring. Rhianna Mills, Anglia News in Willingham, near Cambridge.
Very little ones, no doubt.
Yeah.
Right, it's 12 minutes past 6. You're watching Anglia Tonight.
There is.
Now, more news from Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex. The man who built his Norfolk turkey business into a multi-million-pound empire has announced he's standing down as chairman of his company.
Bernard Matthews has become one of Britain's best-known businessmen, even appearing in his own TV ads.
Now, on the eve of his 80th birthday, he's decided to hand over the running of the group. David Golly reports.
It was adverts like these that have made Bernard Matthews a household name and a familiar face across the world. His catchphrase, "Beautiful," becoming a part of Norfolk folklore.
People's popular image of Norfolk is largely due probably to 3 people, and I'd say they were, in no particular order, the Queen, because of Sandringham, James Hoseason, the late James Hoseason, because of boating holidays on the Broads, and Bernard Matthews, because of It's Beautiful.
Although no one from Matthews was available today, they confirmed that Bernard Matthews himself will still be involved in key strategic decisions. He started the company off 60 years ago with little more than a few turkey eggs. Since then, Bernard Matthews has become one of the biggest food companies in Europe, worth over £300 million, and with farms in Norfolk, Suffolk and Lincolnshire employing thousands of people. It hasn't all been plain sailing, though. In 2005, Jamie Oliver campaigned against turkey Twizzlers, saying they were unhealthy. And then in 2007, an outbreak of bird flu at a Matthews farm in Suffolk brought the brand to its knees. Sales dropped by 40% and hundreds of staff were laid off. But a rebranding in 2008 led to a remarkable turnaround, with sales increasing again.
It's changed its logo, it's added the farm aspect to its name and its brand, it's toned down the rather brash presentation of the previous iteration of the brand. I think it's more of the moment, and I think it's still a very powerful brand.
Bernard Matthews' decision to stand down as chairman comes as he approaches his 80th birthday. He will be continuing his charity work, though, including backing the Caister lifeboat, which is named after him. David Golly, Anglia News.
One of the oldest known trees in the region is about to undergo urgent work to stop it from dying.
The ancient oak in the Essex village of Mistley is thought to be up to 800 years old. James Bush has this report.
It's been growing here for 8 centuries, but now the oak, known as Old Knobley, is under threat. It's something of a landmark in the Essex village of Mistley, and people living here are becoming concerned for its well-being.
Nearly all the villagers learnt to climb in this tree. It's had a lot of battering over the years, but it still keeps going, and At the moment, we're a little bit worried because it's rather overshadowed by some oak trees growing nearby.
If Old Nobley really is 800 years old, it would have been a mere sapling when King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215. It would have been branching out when Henry VIII married the first of his wives in 1509 and putting down some serious roots during the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. Plans are now being drawn up to fell the tree on the southern side of Old Nobley and cut back others on the northern side to stop them competing with it for light and nutrients.
It won't all happen in 1 year because parish council finances don't allow that, but we want to make a start this year.
It's hoped that once the work to preserve the ancient oak has been carried out, it will continue to thrive for years to come. James Bush, Anglia News.
Old Nobley, what a lovely sight.
A lot of character, hasn't it?
Yeah. Now, a cigar which was half smoked by Winston Churchill during the Second World War will go under the hammer in Norfolk later this month. The La Corona brand cigar was specially made for the wartime leader and is embossed with his name. It's thought he stubbed it out when he was called to an unscheduled meeting. Auctioneers are expecting it to make more than £300.
The partly smoked ones are rarer than the whole ones and obviously therefore more sought after. The whole cigars come up fairly frequently at auctions. It's a very, very nice thing to have within Norfolk and to be able to sell.
In sport, the weekend's football is dominated by the FA Cup fourth round.
The region's sole survivors in the competition are Ipswich, who've had their fair share of problems with goalkeepers this season. Donovan Blake has more.
The hopes and dreams of many young footballers wanting to play for Ipswich have started here at Witton on the outskirts of the town. For goalkeeper Arran Barrett, those hopes and dreams have come true. Eventually. But who'd have thought his arrival at Portman Road as an emergency keeper would lead to a new 18-month contract? Shane Supple's decision to give up the game, aged just 22, paved the way.
Came into the club not expecting anything, and just certain things happened and I've been thrown in.
When Roy Keane came calling, what was your reaction?
It was disbelief, really. I was sitting in the car with my brother and it was a phone call, didn't recognise the number and said who it was. You had the odd thought of, is someone winding me up here? But no, everything's moved forwards very quickly from then.
It's been quite a journey for the 26-year-old who initially crossed the Suffolk-Norfolk divide to join the Norwich Academy 9 years ago. Lee Barrett's senior career was hatched at Cardiff. Spells at Weymouth and Coventry followed. His most successful period was at Hartlepool, where he played 65 games before being released last May. Now he's back at his hometown club. Tomorrow, the FA Cup dominates Lee Barrett and Ipswich's thoughts. He was a giant killer with Hartlepool last season when they knocked out Stoke. But he could be on the wrong end of a shock story against League One Southampton.
Being in that league, playing against the top teams, you do up your game. So I'm sure at the weekend it's going to be a tough test.
And Lee Barrett could come face-to-face with striker Lee Barnard, who today joined Southampton from Southend for an undisclosed fee. Donovan Blake, Anglia News, Ipswich.
Well, away from the Cup, the rest of our league clubs are in action tomorrow. Bottom place Peterborough visits Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship.